you've gotten into the whole video thing, right? As far as like your job and you learn, you said you were self-taught for the most part in the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations, like gear recommendations? I know on your videos you have the links and things like that.
The easiest thing obviously is just to start on a GoPro. But the biggest thing I think that separates a lot of videos that are very watchable versus something that's okay is the sound quality. And that's just something that I've tried to become a bit of a stickler for, trying to get good sound quality, because sometimes you hear people talking through a GoPro and they're talking softly because they're not really used to talking on a camera, and they don't look, you can't hear it, you don't really know what's going on. It's not particularly engaging. If you are going to talk to a camera, you really got to look down the barrel, because that's where the connection is. Particularly, when you have a conversation with another person, you talk through the eyes, you maintain eye contact. You know somebody's looking at you because you see their eyes looking at you. If you're in a crowd and nobody's looking at you or looking at your eyes, you don't notice them, because that's where the connection is made between people and many other animals as well. You'd probably notice if you look straight in the eyes of a fish, that they're onto you. They're like, oh, this person's looking at me. So you see some people putting their hand over their mask and looking through the slit of their fingers right before they pull the trigger, sort of thing, or mirrored lenses on your mask and that sort of thing. Poker players, they wear glasses so you can't see, because that's where the connection is between two people, is through the eyes mostly. So I would say if you're gonna talk to a camera, talk to the camera as it's a person on FaceTime or something like that. And the audio is probably the big thing. So particularly with GoPros, you have to take them out of the housing to get any decent audio, which is unfortunate because then they're only waterproof to 10 meters. But I would say if you want to talk to camera, make sure the audio sounds good. Go somewhere quiet. Don't do it on the beach where there's waves crashing and that sort of stuff. So that's probably my biggest thing that frustrates me in my professional life as well, is bad audio. I'm like, oh no, I can't stand listening to this. So,
do you have any tips on how to clean up like audio or any software?
There is like some sound removal stuff, but then again, it always destroys part of the sound of your voice, like the warmness of your voice as well. And I think the biggest thing is getting as close as you can to a microphone. The further you are away from the microphone, attenuation, and it just doesn't sound as good. So if I can get a 3,000 pound microphone at work and stick it 6 foot away from you, and it's going to sound like crap. If I stick it 6 inches away from your mouth, it's going to sound absolutely unbelievable. So it's all about closeness for the audio anyway. And then the other thing is, I guess, when you come to editing your videos, is having the mix right between, if you've got a music track behind, you want to dip that track down when you're talking, so you're not sort of fighting to hear. I see that quite often, that somebody's talking and they've got music, and I'm like, I just can't concentrate on what you're saying because you're competing with something else. So that's one thing I'd say. But yeah, GoPro is a great place to start. It's waterproof. You can take it underwater. You can take a nice still image on it as well as video. It's a good place to start, really, and you probably won't cry if you drop it.
Well, I gotta give a little plug to the company I work with. It's Akaso, and they're like, I gotta say, like, for the most part, it's fairly comparable to a GoPro, but they're like $100, and I've had a fish, swatted off my head. I lost it, and I was more upset by the footage, losing the footage.
Oh, I've had shocking moments with that.
But the point is, like, it was only $100, so I was able to get it, no problem. But I think that difference between buying a GoPro and buying the camera, and I could buy a new set of fins or go on another trip or something. Like, I'm always trying to figure out.
It is a hard thing to justify, and I think some people are, they're just passionate about making videos and recording their memories as well, and some people just aren't into it at all. They're not interested. They're like, oh yeah, cool, I like watching videos, but I don't have a desire to do it myself. And I think you mentioned in some earlier questions, is for people starting out a channel, I would say that you don't have to have all the gear. I've built up camera gear over 5 years of just buying bits and pieces, trial and error, and that sort of stuff, to where I am now, where I can I'm happy with the stuff I make now. It could be better. It always could be better. But yeah, I think the important thing with the YouTube channel is, I get this question quite a lot. It's like, how do I start a YouTube channel? It's like, that's exactly it. You just have to start, because the reality is the first video you make is going to be crap. The 10th video you make might be slightly less crap. I look back at some of my earlier videos, even maybe 2 years ago, where I'm in this exact room, and I just got like, my colors look terrible, my lighting's horrid, I can't speak properly on camera as well. I've had to learn a lot about.
Interesting skill though too is actually getting used to talking to a camera and being yourself in front of a camera, because it feels awkward.
I think the most awkward part is when you come back to edit your own voice and then realize you say words very stupidly. For instance, when someone's in a rush, okay, cool. What is this a bottle of?
Water.
WADER. Like, there's a T in there. Why do most people say water, or like, I jumped in the water. Like, it actually sounds really stupid when you go back to edit it. It's water. It's you become really hyper aware of what your language use is like as well. How much you have pauses, for instance, how you use punctuation, grammar, how you draw people in with your inflection. There's that age-old sort of Australian questioning inflection, where if I say the sky's blue, where I put an inflection on the end, where it means it sounds like a question. Where if I say the sky is blue, that's a statement. So there's heaps of stuff you can sort of dig into about how to speak to a camera, or just speaking in general. And I've watched a few. I have to admit, I've definitely watched a few videos on speech and how you communicate using your hands, your speech, how to be engaging and not be boring, how to change your voice to not be boring as well. I'd like to think I'm less boring than I was 24 months ago.